What's going on, Steeler Nation? This is your man, Big B, Brian Hanley. Welcome to Steelers Almighty Live, man. I appreciate everybody being in here. Got an action-packed show for you guys tonight, man. There's just stuff going all over the place. The Brandon Aiyuk, I thought we were away from it a couple days ago. I wanted to be done with it yesterday, and it is just the rumor mill is just going berserk. It is literally going berserk, in and out every other second. There is something going on with Brandon Aiyuk. The Steelers are back engaged. We'll talk about that now. But again, they're back engaged depending on who you ask and who you talk to. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Russell Wilson back working with the ones today. Got some work in 11-on-11 drills. Did some throwing. Did some stuff. Looked good. We'll talk a little bit about that. The offensive line, there's a little bit of a shakeup. I can start to rest a little bit easier. There has been a shakeup on the offensive line, so some of my worries might be put to rest a little bit here. And then we'll also talk about a little bit of the depth chart. That came out, but I think the depth chart is kind of a misnomer or a pump fake, should we say. Some of that came out. So we'll go over all of that today and more. I appreciate everybody being in here, man. Again, as always, remember to like, follow, subscribe, everything Steelers Almighty. You can find us at youtube.com/Steelers Almighty and anywhere that you get a podcast and all the social media channels. Remember, we are Steelers Almighty. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and comment there as well. So appreciate everybody being in here, man. Let's get into this. So Brandon Aiyuk, oh my God. Look, I said yesterday that it was going to be, we needed to give him 48 hours. Well, it hadn't been 48 hours, and damn it, there's more rumors going on all over the place. It's just, oh my God. I've had enough. I said yesterday I've had enough. Today I've had enough. Tomorrow I'm going to have had enough. Just get it over with. So the reports are that the Steelers actually re-engaged after there were reports earlier in the day that the Steelers were out on Brandon Aiyuk. Now they're re-engaged. Then they're out on Aiyuk again. It's just back and forth, depending on everybody's trying to be right at this point. You know, that's the thing. And so you've even got three different people coming out and saying two or three different things, man. So here's the latest. If we're trading for Brandon Aiyuk, and I hear a lot of you're asking what's going on with him. Here's kind of the latest thing, is that the Steelers have re-engaged. We'll leave it at that the Steelers have re-engaged. It also looks like Cleveland and New England have also entered this thing. Cleveland's trying to send Amari Cooper out there in exchange, and also some draft picks, I think. I mean, I don't know. I think San Francisco wins on that deal if you're asking me, but that's just me. But that's kind of the deal. For the Steelers, what it looks like, and this is what's been reported that's out there, and I think this is crazy. You guys let me know in the comments what you guys think. 2 second-round picks, which this year and next year, well, 2025 and 2026, that's already too much for my blood, but okay. And then we've got James Daniels has also entered that. Now, the James Daniels thing, I don't think is that bad for the simple fact that he's not going to be on the Steelers next year. We already know that. They're not entering any conversation with him. James Daniels, a young guy, pretty good. I mean, he's a fair player, good starter. He's going to command a lot of dollars. He's not going to be on the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. So you throw him into a trade. Okay. And then also supposedly that they want Calvin Austin III. Now, hold on a second. Now, it's one thing to want 2 second-round picks. And if I'm Pittsburgh, if you say that to start off with, the answer is no. But, okay, if you're going to entertain 2 second-round picks, then you can't have a player. That's just it. You get 2 second-round picks, and that's it. But now, San Francisco, you want James Daniels in the deal. Well, then what do the Steelers? It can't just be Aiyuk. It can't just be him. You're telling me that Brandon Aiyuk is worth 2 second-round picks, James Daniels, and Calvin Austin? Come on, man. No way. No way. And again, those are the reports that are out there. And I'm good with, let's just say, I don't like the second-round pick at all, but let's just say you give a second-round pick. Okay. Then the next year, you can have a fourth. You can have a fifth, but you're not getting my second if I got to give you James Daniels too, because more than likely, San Francisco is going to re-sign James Daniels because he's an upgrade over what they have. So if you get James Daniels, you re-sign him, I have to turn around. No, you can have a second, a fifth the following year, and James Daniels. Calvin Austin stays on our football team. Sorry. That's just the way it works. He's going to stay on. Now, some people are going to look, well, come on, Big B. You're upgrading. You're giving away Austin to get Aiyuk. Okay, but also gave up second-round draft pick. So everything can't just be for Aiyuk. It can't just be that. Basically four players for one. No, because that's what it will be. That's what it would be. Come on, we're crazy. We're crazy, and that's that. I don't even think that's realistic. Now, if the Steelers do that, I will lose. I'm not going to lose respect for Omar Khan. I'm just going to say, man, were you that desperate, or was the wide receiver core really that bad? Those are two ways that you can look at this, man. Is that Omar Khan got fleeced by the 49ers, or no, he didn't get fleeced. The Steelers wide receiver core is really that bad. I mean, if they're really that bad, oh, man. I don't think they are. I really don't believe that that's the case. But giving that up, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I told you the other day, I thought a third and a fifth in this year's draft. You want to throw in James Daniels? Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. But you're telling me I got to give you 2 seconds, James Daniels and Calvin Austin. That's too much. That's just too much. I don't like it at all. At all. Give him a second. Give him I'll even go to a fourth round the following year. And then James Daniels, okay, fine. We can live with that. We don't like it, but we can live with it. But this 4-player swap, and 2 of them are draft picks, get out of here. I'm out. So that's my thing. My man Mark Collins, he says, I'd give up Daniels a third 2025 and fourth 2026. Possibly, yeah. Now, here's the thing. I don't think that San Francisco is going to go for anything but a second. And they probably shouldn't. I mean, we got to give a little bit. It's not like Aiyuk is a terrible guy. Giving up a third and a fourth, they're not going to do that. So a second, okay. I can get up to a second. But you're not getting a first. That's number one. You're not getting that. And I can give you up to a second. But if I give you a second, it's not going to be 2 of them. I'll give you a second, and I'll even say a fourth in James Daniels. But they're not going to take a third and a fourth in Daniels. They won't do that unless they're just really desperate, which we talked about this yesterday. San Francisco doesn't have to be desperate. I think they've got a good enough locker room to say, look, you can be as disgruntled all you want, but we want to win a Super Bowl. And we got you for 3 more years if you want to play football in this league. Take the money and play, or don't. Now, maybe they want to do that. I don't think they can, because they got to start paying some people. I mean, Trent Williams is holding out. They're going to have to pay Brock Purdy. So Aiyuk becomes expendable at that point in time. And maybe that's what this holdup is that people know it. They're like, look, man, we ain't giving you no second-round pick. And that might be the deal. It's like, we're not giving you a second-round pick because we know that you got to get rid of this guy. Or you just keep him for the 1 year and you just let him walk. Well, then let him walk. But if I'm the Steelers, maybe the Steelers hold tight. I don't think you can, because I think he upgrades you enough if you do the trade. But I think I've got, just like all Steeler fans, I'm over Brandon Aiyuk. I've got Brandon Aiyuk syndrome. I just can't deal with it anymore. I'm over this trade. Make the deal or don't make the deal. We're 24 hours into my 48-hour window, Steelers almighty people. We're 24 hours in. We got another 24 hours, and this damn thing's got to be over with. It's got to be over. I'm tired of talking about it. I either want them on the team or I don't want them on the team. And our first preseason game is coming up. We got evaluations to deal with. We don't have time to be worried about trying to get somebody else, unless, again, we go into this first preseason game And I'm guessing the starters are going to play in this game a little bit. Not the older guys, but a lot of the starters are going to play. Well, we don't have time to be dealing with, okay, well, we got to get Brandon Aiyuk. We might get him. We possibly could get him. Either get him in or get him out. It's time to go. The old saying, shit or get off the pot. Let's do it, people. Enough of the nonsense. I said that yesterday. I'm going to say it again. Shit or get off the pot. We got 24 hours left. What are we going to do, Steelers? My better question is, do we want Brandon Aiyuk? Do we want him on the team? I don't know if we do. I don't. He helps us. He helps us. Don't get me wrong. He would help. But is it worth it in the long run? Is it really worth it? I don't know. I don't know. So we'll see. Now, here we got a comment here. It's not much. We traded a first for Mika and paid him $2. Do you think Mika Fitzpatrick and Brandon Aiyuk are the same caliber of player? I would guess not. So let's start there. Brandon Aiyuk isn't anywhere close to being the best wide receiver in the league. Mika Fitzpatrick, if he wasn't the best safety, he's number 2. And right now, even after a down year, he's 4th. So let's start there, okay, with this comment. Don't compare Brandon Aiyuk to Mika Fitzpatrick. I know they play different positions. Wide receiver is more valuable, but let's not kid ourselves on how good these guys are. $30 million will be the new $25 million in 2 years. Well, we're not talking about in 2 years. We're talking about right now. So we could talk about whatever we want in 2 years. We're talking right this very second. What are we talking about right now? Do we want to pay Brandon Aiyuk $30 million for that? Yeah, it's too much. It's too much, Ronald. Signed 2 years ago at 26 and looked expensive. No. Mika was just fine. He was just fine, man. I know you must want Brandon Aiyuk, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with wanting Brandon Aiyuk, but trying to justify the money for 2 years down the road doesn't make any sense. Just justify it for right now. That 2 years down the road is 2 years down the road. Heck, 2 years ago, Deshaun Watson signed for $230 million. How do you think Cleveland feels about that right now? So don't worry about what 2 years down the road is. Worry about right now, because that's all we can be concerned with is right now. Don't worry about that. I get your point, and I get what you're saying. So the bottom line is you can't make that comparison. It's silly. It's silly. So it's silly. And it might give us the best. And here's the thing, my man Ronald, you're saying, I think it gives us the biggest chance in the next few years. It probably does, but it also sacrifices your future. If you're talking about the next 2 years, you want to give up 2 second-round picks over the next 2 years? Those are guys that are going to help you win. What if it's a defensive lineman, an outside linebacker, a tackle, a center, or whatever? Those are guys that are going to help you win those second-round picks. The defensive lineman, we're willing to give that up for a receiver that isn't better than the receiver that we currently have? I don't like it. I don't. If we make the trade, don't get me wrong, it can help us, but don't try to convince me that it's the best thing for the Steelers, because I don't believe that it is. I don't believe that it is. So I just don't. I don't. So I get what you're saying. I understand it, but let's not act like Brandon Aiyuk is. And I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again today. The Steelers make this trade. You're saying that Pickens doesn't guarantee anything. So we give up all this for Brandon Aiyuk. Does that guarantee us anything? No, it doesn't. There's nothing guaranteed in this world. So trying to say that somebody else doesn't guarantee anything, that's silly. And again, is Brandon Aiyuk the missing piece for the Steelers going to a Super Bowl? No, he isn't. He's not. If he was, then we could give up 2 first-round picks for him. If that was the case, oh, man, the Steelers get Brandon Aiyuk, they're going to the Super Bowl. That ain't happening. Or if it does, or let's just say he isn't going to be the missing piece for the Steelers to go to the Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying. That's the bottom line. He's not the guy that, oh, okay, we got Brandon Aiyuk, that put us over the top. No. That isn't it. Does he help us? Of course he does. But that doesn't put him over the top. Doesn't put us over the top. Let's move on. Russ back at practice. He looked good. Didn't look like any rust that he had. That's all I'm saying. Russell Wilson looked pretty good at practice today. Now, he had been throwing a little bit while he was off, but he took half the first team reps today. They worked him back in a little bit slower, it seemed like, and he looked really good at practice today, and that's something that we got to like, people. And again, I was screaming about it. Hey, at this point, he's got to be back on the practice field. Well, he got back on the practice field and looked solid. He looked solid, and I like it. I like that aspect of it. They needed to get him back out there at some point, because otherwise all the reps going to Justin Fields. How is this guy going to be able to get out there and get some rapport? I mean, we even heard George Pickens. He got interviewed today, said that, yeah, he's building a rapport with Justin Fields. Now, coming from George Pickens, that can be troubling because he's had his maturity issues. He might even prefer Fields. Well, we can't have him preferring anybody because if Russell Wilson's healthy, he's going to be the starting quarterback. I know there's all these reports that, the job it's up for grabs and all this stuff. No, it's not. Not if Russell is healthy. It's his job. Now, he can play himself out of the job if he plays bad. But at this point, I mean, they've basically let it be known that it's Russell Wilson's job. And he hasn't played bad leading up to this either. It'd be one thing if he stunk, couldn't get the offense, his arm was lacking the pop that it's always had. He's inaccurate with the ball. You've heard none of that, and you've seen none of that. He's been accurate. His arm is just as lively as it was when he came into the league. He's in good shape. He's got a grasp of the offense, but you knew he was going to get a grasp of the offense because Russell is super smart. It's his job. It's his job, people. So let's just leave it at that. He looked good in practice. And that's what we wanted. Russ to come back, not to have any rust. They worked him slow, but getting back off of the calf injury, which is good. And again, he is an older guy. You don't always have to rush guys back. There was no necessary or no reason to rush him back. And they didn't. Fields played well, though, in his absence. And Fields looked good again today. He didn't look bad today. And I just think that people keep saying it's going to be a short leash. There's context that got to come with that. We go out and win a game, but Fields or Russell Wilson throws for 190 yards, a pick or a touchdown and 2 picks, but we win. Say he does that 2 weeks in a row, but we win 2 weeks in a row. They're not taking him out. That's not what's going to happen. Now, he throws 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, 115 yards, and we lose 2 games in a row. That's a different conversation. So context matters. And both of them, he could have played bad. But if we're winning, you don't necessarily change that. So we'll see. We will see. I like what Russ did today, though, in practice. Very, very accurate with the arm. Arm strength was on point. Like I said, no rust from practice. No rust. So that's exactly what we wanted to see as Steeler fans. We wanted to see there be no rust. So I appreciate it. I appreciate that. Let me get to some comments here, man. So, my man Ronald said if Russ or Fields are at least above average, he could be. I think he's talking about Brandon Aiyuk being the difference in a Super Bowl. That couldn't be further from the truth, but we're going to move on from that. Brian, I give him a third 2025 and a fourth 2026, or I'll just pass on it. Again, I get what you're saying on that trade, but they're not going to take that. They're not going to take that. You're going to have to give up at least a second. And I'm willing to give up a second. So you got to give up a second to get Aiyuk. But let's get past the Aiyuk. Let's get past it. Russ' worst year is better than Fields' best. I'm excited. Bring on the Texans. I mean, I'm not going to say Russ' worst year was better than Fields because that's not true. Russ's 2022 season was absolutely an abomination, okay, by all standards. And that is not – I know that Justin Fields hasn't played great, but what he has done is better than what Russell Wilson did in 2022. Stop all the nonsense. If you can love Russell Wilson, I understand it, and all that stuff, But don't tell me what he did in 2020. What he did in 2022 wasn't better than what Kenny Pickett did. There's that. Take that and smoke it. Come on, Mal. Let's be serious. Now, 2023, that's a different story. But 2022 was an awful season for Russell Wilson. One of the worst that I've seen a quarterback have of his caliber, maybe ever. So let's keep it in perspective. Let's keep it in perspective. So Russ has forgotten more about playing QB than some QBs play today have ever known. That much I 1,000% agree with you on, James. I absolutely agree with that. Russ is super smart. No, you can call him corny. You can whatever you want to call him. The one thing you're not going to call Russell Wilson is dumb, because he's not dumb. He's extremely smart. He's going to pick up any offense, including our own, very quickly. It's going to be interesting to see how much he's able to change plays at the line. Because the last time that the Steelers were actually decent, Big Ben was able to change plays at the line of scrimmage. He had that autonomy to be able to do it. Why? Because he knew what a good play was and what a bad play was. Now, Kenny Pickett got to a little bit of that, but it's hard to say with that former offensive coordinator. Again, I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to do it. But dealing with that offense, who the hell knows what you could get in and out of based on formation? I mean, hell, we line up in something and our tendencies were so bad, the defense knew what was coming anyway. So regardless of what we lined up in. So it just is what it is at that point. But I like what I saw out of Russ. Very, very good today, man. Let the best QB play. That's all I care about. I'm the same way. Let the best guy play. But y'all know me. I've said it a million times. I'll say it a million more. If a field mouse can win us a Super Bowl playing quarterback, then damn it, let a field mouse win us the Super Bowl playing quarterback. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you look like. I don't care how old you are. All I want to do is win. And if you can help us win, that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Nothing else, people. Nothing else. Let's move on here. Offensive line. Lord have mercy, people. Today, the offensive line looked good. They looked good. It was an offensive day. I think they got their get back. It was a physical practice today. A lot more running than there was throwing. Offensive line looked good. And my nerves have calmed down. Okay? My nerves have calmed down. All right? The reason being is on the first team, when they did 7 shots, guess who the starting right tackle was? Troy Fautanu. Yeah. Guess who the starting left tackle was? Broderick Jones. Yes. Yes. Okay. Now, did they flip-flop? Yes. Did Dan Moore get into the game some? Yeah, he did. Broderick Jones was basically out there the whole time because he was going back and forth, which, again, is wild to me that our starting left tackle is our swing tackle, but whatever. But bottom line is, that's who started in 7 shots. Troy Fautanu at right tackle, Broderick Jones at left tackle. Yes, people, yes. We love it. Now, for better news, Zach Frazier, who's still running with the second team, had his best practice. He was pancaking people. He was pulling and blowing people up. The physicality, he's figured it out. And this was his type of practice. Zach Frazier looked good today, people. Be excited. Be excited. He looked good. It might just be a matter of time. It might be a matter of time. Now, here's the thing. Follow me with this. Follow me on this. If James Daniels is truly in this package, if we're going to trade for Brandon Aiyuk, if he's truly in that package, okay, then who starts at right guard? I mean, because Mason McCormick, I got his name right. I didn't say Mitch. It's Mason McCormick. Are we going to put him in? I mean, I would guess not, the way that the Steelers have done offensive linemen the past couple years, because you made Troy wait a little bit before you put him out there. You made Broderick Jones wait 8 games before you put him out there. Zach Frazier still isn't out there, but yet you're going to let a 4th-round pick jump right into the starting lineup? Here's my thought. if James Daniels goes, I think it's Nate Herbig that takes that job and Zach Frazier steps in. Now, because here's the thing. What are you going to have 3 rookies starting on your offensive line day one? Is that what you if Mason McCormick was start at right guard, Troy Fautanu, next to him, Mason McCormick, and then what? Are you going to start Herbig? Okay, well then you got Broderick Jones, a second-year guy. I don't believe that. I think Nate Herbig would be in the starting lineup at right guard. That's what I would hope. Because since matter of fact, guard is his natural position. So that's number one. And Zach Frazier is a better center than him. Let him do it. Let him get the job. But we'll see. We will see. So if that's the case, if Daniels is truly in that trade, I think Herbig slides over, Zach Frazier slides in. I would worry about that because there's a draw. Look, I'm not saying James Daniels is great. I think he's a good player, average to good player, but he's better. He's leaps and bounds better than Herbig at guard. He just is. He's just leaps and bounds better than him. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll be interested if James Daniels is part of that package, if there even is a package. Again, we've covered it ad nauseum, and unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about it until something happens because the Steelers keep getting brought up in it, and that's what we're here to talk about is the Steelers. And as long as their name is at the forefront of this, we got to continue to talk about it. As much as we hate it, we're not going to throw out any clickbait and tell you, oh, breaking news, Steelers, they've made a deal. And then for you to click on a video, yeah, the Steelers are talking about making a deal. They've thought about making a deal for Brandon Aiyuk. Y'all have seen those. I've clicked on them too. Deal is done. You click on it. Well, the Steelers are talking about a deal. The deal could be in place in the next 48 hours. The deal could be in place by next week. Oh, my God. Jiminy Christmas. It's always something. It's always something. So, let's get to some comments here, man. Let's get to some comments. My man Moore is very serviceable as a 4th-round pick, but he isn't starting caliber like the other offense tackles are. Exactly. We've said that. Nothing wrong with Dan Moore being the backup. And again, if Dan Moore hadn't played the last 3 years, then yeah, you would say give the guy an opportunity to get out there. Of course he's earned an opportunity. He's earned a shot. However, he has played. It's not like that Dan Moore Jr. hasn't played. He's played. He's been out there. We've seen it. It's just not good. Now, again, y'all know that I'm not a pro football focused guy. That's just not my thing. I think it's more of a tool than a baseline on how you should evaluate football players. I think it's a tool that you can use, but I would prefer that you use your eyes based on what you see versus going to Pro Football Focus to basically to get all of your knowledge. They're not that good, number one. But having said that, he was rated the worst offensive tackle in football last year. Now, was he the worst? I don't know. We as Steeler fans watched. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. He's constantly giving up pressures. It's not always sacks, but constantly giving up pressures. So, ooh. Hit the nail on the head. So tired of this clickbait. Yeah, you're right, man. I try not to. And if I do, please call me out. I have no problems with you guys calling me out. So if it ever gets to that, just let me know. Main thing is, and I want to take a quick break here to let you guys know, again, after every Steelers game, Steelers Almighty, we're going to be live doing exactly what we're doing right here. So make sure you remember to follow, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. We appreciate it. Steelers Almighty is the fastest growing Steelers channel on YouTube. And it's all because of you guys. We appreciate it. Super chats are wide open. That will ensure that you control the conversation somewhat and guarantees that you'll get your statement or your question put up on the screen. If you see down below, we're going to get the line started where you guys can start calling in and leaving your takes. Listen to them on our Wednesday podcast, which will be coming out tomorrow. So we appreciate all that, man. So, all right. Here's a good question. How many more wins does Aiyuk add to the Steelers? And how much better are you in the postseason? That would be the question. That's the question. How many more wins are you going to assign to Brandon Aiyuk? Somebody earlier was trying to say that Brandon Aiyuk is the difference between the Steelers making the Super Bowl. It's not. And he said, well, if Justin Fields or Russell Wilson are good, if your quarterback's that good, who's on the other side, it's not really going to make that much of a difference, is it? It's not like those guys can't get open. And if your ball placement and accuracy is dead on, then okay. Not to mention this Arthur Smith offense. We've talked about it at length and we'll continue to talk about it. It spreads the ball around. It uses 2 tight ends. They throw it to them. They'll use a plethora of running backs. They'll throw it to them. You do have to have a big-time number 1 receiver. We got one. The second guy just can't be a slouch. They're not. That's what his offense is all about. So would he help? Sure, he would help. Is he the difference between us going into the Super Bowl or not? I don't believe so. And I don't believe you have to give up that much. 2 second-rounders, James Daniels and Calvin Austin? Absolutely not. That's too much. That's too much. And if that's 49ers drop-dead baseline, what they'll take from the Steelers, then let's move on. And don't even take the call anymore. But back to the question, what does he do in the postseason? Is he going to help us win a game? I hope. Because that's the goal. We got to start winning in playoff games. And I love Mike Tomlin. I love him. I think he's an outstanding football coach. But all this, well, we're over 500 and he's never had a losing season. That was okay for a few years. I'm past it now. And I do give him credit for not being below 500 because that's saying something. Because some of the best coaches, Belichick, Andy Reid, they've been below 500. And so for him to not, that's a statement. But they also won playoff games in that time frame. We haven't won one in 7 years. TJ Watt's never won a playoff game. Think about that. Never won a playoff game. That's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. And I'm not blaming TJ Watt. I'm blaming the organization for not doing enough around him. We got to be better. We got to be better. So, injury report, Alex Highsmith, he got hurt a little bit today. That groin injury didn't look good. Mike Tomlin kind of downplayed it, but if it's really a groin injury, I would suspect he's out for a week or two. He's probably done for the rest of training camp anyway. So, Roman Wilson looked better. He had a sleeve on today, well, on his ankle. He's out of the walking boot, so that's a good thing. Out of the walking boot. And Cole Holcomb, I would say Cole Holcomb is not going to return this year. I would say Cole Holcomb is out for the year. You know, he didn't get hurt early in the season, had surgery early in the season. I would say Cole Holcomb is not ready to play football. That knee injury was disgusting. We all saw it, and it's way more damage in his knee than the time frame allows for him to come back and play competitive football. So, yeah, I don't think Cole Holcomb's coming back. Hopefully we can get some of these outside linebackers back. I would guess the Steelers make a move tomorrow and sign an outside linebacker just for the simple fact that Highsmith got hurt. And again, I don't think we're going to see Highsmith the rest of training camp. Doesn't mean he's not going to practice at all. I just don't think he's going to be out there doing anything 11 on 11 or one-on-one pass rush drills. I don't think we're going to see that for a little bit from him. So look for them to make a move to probably bring in an outside linebacker unless a couple of the guys that are hurt at linebacker are able to come back. So we'll see. The one person that's still out, Dean Lowry, I was expecting a lot out of him this year as a backup defensive tackle. And he hadn't been able to get out there. And the longer he's out and the better some of these guys are playing, I mean, Dean Lowry probably could have started on some football team, and he ended up signing with the Steelers as a backup. That's why I thought he was going to have a big role. He may be a cut casualty. That just might happen, people. So I don't know. I was expecting big things, and we still might get some big things from him. Maybe they're just slow playing him to get back healthy. Again, he's a veteran, so we'll see. Let's get to a question here. My man Mark Collins says the Steelers' problems is they haven't had a very offensive line. I'm assuming a very good offensive line that can control a game consistently. And on defense, they can't stop the run and passes across the middle. I mean, the thing that would help the defense is if the offense could contain the ball. If you ever notice that the Steelers, it's either they go on a scoring drive or it's 3 and out. Like, it was never, hey, Steelers went on a 7-play drive and then punted, or an 8-play drive and punted. It was, hey, they score, whether it's a touchdown or a field goal, or it's 3 and out. Well, I mean, and the 3 and outs, it could have been 6 of them in a row. That's where the problem is. They never contain the ball. It's like, I'm not saying you got to score every possession, although that'd be nice, but at least give your defense a little bit of a break. You know, it can't just constantly be 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, scoring drive. 3 and out, 3 and out, scoring drive. 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Oh, my goodness. Enough is enough. Have a scoring drive. But their offensive line should be better this year. And the way that they want to run the ball and the way that they are going to design some of the run schemes and some of the concepts and disguise some of the stuff that they're doing with personnel packages, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Look, Arthur Smith's a smart guy. He's a smart guy. Didn't work out in Atlanta, but I still say it didn't work out in Atlanta because he didn't have a quarterback. Now, whether that was by his design or the general manager, I just believe the reason that things didn't work out in Atlanta for Arthur Smith is because they took a chance on Desmond Ridder. And I think we all know Desmond Ridder had no business starting a game in the NFL. And that's the price he paid for that, unfortunately. That is the price he paid. We got better quarterbacks here. I don't know if our offensive line is going to be as good as Atlanta's, because Atlanta's offensive line is really good. But I think we can be a top 10 line. I do. I really, really do. So, Levi Wallace not here giving up those long third downs really helps. Yeah, you're right. Look, we don't want to just continuously bash everybody, but Levi Wallace wasn't good last year. Patrick Peterson wasn't good last year until he switched to safety out of necessity. I mean, when he was playing outside as a corner, he was getting toasted. Patrick Peterson's days are over in the National Football League playing cornerback, as far as I'm concerned, and basically as far as anybody is concerned, because nobody has picked him up yet. And maybe he gets on somewhere in the middle of the season because a team gets desperate with injuries or something, but we'll see. We'll see. That's what I think. The depth chart came out today, and the thing that was, and again, I think the Steelers throw out a depth chart, just kind of throw a little pump fake at us, because the depth chart had Troy Fautanu as the backup left tackle. Not the backup right, not the starting right, the backup left tackle. So it's like, wait a minute, the Steelers, are they really even putting out an official depth chart, or are they just throwing something out there on paper just because the league says you have to have a depth chart and they just throw it out there? Because that's what it seemed like. They were just throwing it out there. Also at fullback, they had Connor Hayward listed as the number 1 fullback and Jack Coletto as the backup. Now, while we love Connor Hayward, he is absolutely not a fullback. H-back, okay. But we're not going to have him leading, in 21 personnel. He's going to be the lead blocker. I mean, that's not going to happen on power football. I'm sorry. That's not his job. Jack Coletto, that is his job. So maybe they should have separated with H-back and fullback, because, like I said, there's no way, as much as Arthur Smith wants to disguise stuff, no way is he going to have Connor Hayward being the fullback, like I said, in 21 or 22 or 23 personnel, and he leading the way on power eye football. No. But Jack Coletto, yes. So let's see what we got here. Van Jefferson has been looking really good. and he's doing the AB 300 catches after every practice. Calvin Austin is really working hard, and perhaps our number 2 receiver may be Muth or Roman Wilson. Well, this is a good point. I'm going to put that back up because that's what I said about 3 weeks ago on one of our podcasts that we have on Wednesday. I said it's more important for the Steelers to have a number 2 option versus having a number 2 receiver. And that is true. Look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs, before this year, I mean, look, they've won the Super Bowl, which, while Travis Kelce, you could always say was the number 1 option, but he's a tight end. And, I mean, they didn't even really have a number 1 receiver last year. So, yeah, it's more important, and especially in an Arthur Smith offense, you know they're going to throw the ball to the tight end. You know they're going to throw the ball down the seam and over the middle of the field. They're going to do that and put pressure in the middle of the field. That's going to happen. Well, Pat Freiermuth can be that second guy. Not only can he do it from the tight end position, he can also line up in the slot. He's that good of a route runner. Got to stay healthy. Got to stay healthy. But having said all of that, yeah, that's what can happen. That is exactly what can happen. And I think you may be right. Roman Wilson was looking good before he got injured too. I think he was actually tracking to possibly be the number 2 receiver. Now he's probably going to start the season as the number 4 receiver, working his way back up. We'll see how all that works out. So we will see how all that works out. But yeah, the Steelers got back after it today. Really physical practice. Elandon Roberts was out there knocking heads. Busted Jaylen Warren up it was a clean hit, but he busted him up on a hit today. It was probably the hit of the day in practice. Elandon Roberts must have heard us at Steelers Almighty here talking that we think Peyton Wilson should get the job over him. I still feel that way. I like Peyton Wilson. I like what he brings to the table. I think he's an absolute difference maker. His athleticism, he knows how to tackle. He knows how to hit. He definitely knows how to cover. I believe that that's a guy that can make a difference on the football team immediately. His upside is just higher than Elandon Roberts. That's all. It's not that Roberts is a bad football player, because he's not. But Wilson's upside is just better. So, do you think Fields plays number 1 and number 2 reps against the Texans? No, I don't. I don't think he plays number 2 reps, because we know Russell Wilson's not going to play. But I think that we get Justin Fields out there, there's no reason for him to take number 2 reps. Why I say that, they know what they have with them. Look, if your first quarterback is somewhat hurt, which it seems like Russ is somewhat hurt, you're not throwing the number 2 out there in preseason to get beat up behind the 2 and 3 line. You're just not going to do that. So keep him out. There's no reason. Take the number 1 reps, maybe leave the ones out there a little longer, and then get them out of the game. That's what I would do. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to do that, but that's what I would do. Again, it's not like Justin Fields hasn't played in the National Football League. He started a lot of games in the National Football League. So while you might want to get him up to speed, live bullets against another team, you can do that with the 1s in preseason game 1. You don't have to put him out there with the 2s just to get him reps. He's gotten reps in this league. Doesn't need to get a whole bunch of other reps in this league. That's my only point. I just don't see the need for that. I don't. They might do it, but I'm not going to like it, and I think it's unnecessary. It'd be one thing if he was a rookie. Okay, he's a rookie. He's fighting for a job. Let's see him stay out there for a while. But this guy's not a rookie. He's played 3 years. 3 years in the National Football League, started a whole lot of games, had success, had some failures, but he's had success. No reason to put him out there for that many snaps in preseason game number 1, especially when your perceived starter is hurt. You don't need to do that. It's just like in the last preseason game. The number 2 guy ain't out there a whole lot. It's usually the 3. The 3s are out there playing. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited for Friday, though. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it. Again, just as a reminder, everybody, Steelers Almighty podcast comes out every Wednesday. We'll have a new episode coming out tomorrow at this time, so we won't be live tomorrow. Remember, like, follow, subscribe, all of that good stuff on YouTube and anywhere that you get a podcast. We are everywhere. So I appreciate all the support. I've said this before. I'll continue to say it because it's absolutely the truth. Steelers Almighty is the fastest growing Steelers channel on YouTube right now. Fastest growing and without a doubt. And it's because of you guys. I appreciate it. So again, you want to control the conversation. Remember to always, you can always send a super chat over. They're wide open. That will ensure that you get your question or statement up on the screen and you can control the conversation. So we appreciate that. Good statement here by Mark. Is this going to end anytime soon? This is getting frustrating. Well, if I'm getting frustrating, I hope that's not what you mean. But if I'm getting frustrating, I think there's something that you can do. That's all I'll say. I mean, if I'm frustrating for you, I mean, I'll just come out and say it. You don't have to watch. Or are you talking about Brandon Aiyuk getting frustrated? I'm going to think that you're talking about that. I'm going to say that. Because if it is, yeah, it's all getting frustrating for me too. I think it's got to end now. We're 24 hours into the Steelers almighty 48-hour window to be able to keep this thing open, man. So I think we're in that. I think we're in it. We at some point, we got to end this thing, man. At some point, it's got to be over. And I'm with you. It's getting frustrating. If that's what you're talking about, it's getting frustrating for me too, my man. Lord have mercy. Just make it stop. Just make it stop. So, ugh. What else do we got here? They're not talking about me, says Spice Creations. I hope not. I hope not. Lord have mercy. I hope not. So, I'm sensitive, though, people. I'm sensitive. All this Brandon Aiyuk talk's got me pissed off. Jiminy Christmas. I'm just over it. And if I'm over it, let's stop talking about it. We're done. I'm not bringing it up anymore tonight. I'm not doing it. And if any of y'all bringing it up, yeah, I'll probably talk about it, but I'm going to be pissed off doing it, damn it. So let's talk about something else. What else y'all got? So, what else do y'all got here? Yeah, I don't know anything else that's happening with any of that Aiyuk stuff. I'm just ready for it to be over, man. And then I'm ready for it to be over. I think if anything will happen, it'll be before the first preseason game. That's kind of what I'm thinking. It's got to happen then, before the first preseason game. At some point, this just has to stop. And we got to move on. Think about it this way. Why are we are the freaking Pittsburgh Steelers. Why do we have to be beholden to the San Francisco 49ers or to Brandon Aiyuk? Why do we have to bow down and just beg for this guy? And I understand he would make us better, but why do we have to just beg for him? Come on, man. And I know that you don't have to have dignity or pride when it comes to this, and we're trying to make the football team better. But this should have happened months ago if we were going to get it done. It should have already been over. And here we are 3 days before our first preseason game, and we're still messing around with it. Come on, man. So, let's see. Now I'm going to stay strong, man. I'm going to stay strong. Don't worry about it. I appreciate the support, but I'm going to stay strong. I'm going to stay strong. So, but today y'all would have been happy. Troy Faetano got all the first team reps at right tackle, and he looked great. He looked great. He got every rep that the first team took. He got every one up. Well, I take that back. I think there was 11 snaps that Broderick Jones got at right tackle, but every other one with the ones, Troy Faetano got all those reps, looked good. Yeah, I think that's our right tackle, people. I think that's our right tackle. They talked about a plan, and it looks like their plan is coming to fruition. Didn't want to rush him. I wanted to rush him. I thought they were going to slow play us like they did Broderick Jones, and I'm like, we can't do that. I think that's the only reason that I was so upset about it. I think that's the reason. is because they constantly, what they did with Broderick Jones last year, I'm like, hold on, man, we can't do that. We can't have Dan Moore out there again. We just can't. And I think that's why I got so upset and got so into it, because I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I get you don't want to rush them, but let them get as many reps as possible to get comfortable, because we can't have Dan Moore out there. We just can't. So I think that was my thought process, and that's what got me in my feelings. That's what got me in my feelings. So here we go. San Francisco fans were asking for 5 times. Oh, come on. You see what I'm talking about? Now this is the problem when you have to deal with when you want a player. This is what their fans keep talking about. Now they want Faetanu in the trade. That's who they want. I mean, what are we doing here? Oh my goodness. San Francisco 49er fans, I don't know if you're listening. I don't know if you're going to hear this later or not, but let me just answer for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hell no, and go away. If that's what you're asking, hell no, go away. First of all, I don't think anybody is that's just a fan thing. If John Lynch was asking for that, the 49ers should fire him. And John Lynch is the GM for the 49ers. If that's what he was really asking, the 49ers just say, hey, man, this guy's not serious. He's fired. He's fired. We can't deal with it. He's done. He's done. So, but whatever. It is what it is. I'll be interested to see what happens here overnight and into the morning tomorrow. Because I think by tomorrow, I think something will be done one way or another. Something's going to be done. Whether it's a trade to Pittsburgh, whether it's a trade to the Browns, or New England. Don't y'all just love Browns fans? Don't y'all just love picking on Browns fans? Browns fans got after us so much last season, all off season, told us how much better they were going to be than us, and that how we stunk, and we're going to be last in the division forever, and all of this, yada yada yada. And the first time we played them, we beat them, and then they beat us. They beat us, and they had a better record. They had a better season. But guess how many playoff games they won versus us? We won the same number. They got embarrassed. It just the Browns are going to brown. The Browns are going to brown. I just love the simple fact that for decades they have waited to be able to say that what they said to us last year, and their season ended just like ours. First round of the playoffs. The only difference is the Steelers put up a fight against Buffalo. I didn't think at any time we were going to beat Buffalo in that game, but at least we put up a fight. The Browns got humiliated. They got humiliated. And I loved every single second of it. Loved every second of it. Couldn't happen to a nicer fan base. Could not happen to a nicer fan base. Oh, Cleveland Browns, man. Lord have mercy. Mm, mm, mm. So sad. So sad. Reports are that Deshaun Watson's looking good again. Those are the reports coming out of Cleveland. Deshaun Watson playing some football, looking good. And I want to see it. I want to see it on the field. I want to see it. Because the only thing look, I'm 48 years old. I'm old enough to remember a time when the Browns were actually pretty good. It was in the 80s, but they were actually pretty good. And the Browns haven't been a damn thing since then, since Bernie Kosar was running around there. And, what about the playoff game a few years back, Brian? Okay, you beat us. You did. You did. You got rid of that quarterback and your team got worse, but okay, that's fine. Whatever. Bottom line is we're Pittsburgh, they're Cleveland, and they're always going to be Cleveland. And even in their best year, Cleveland is going to Cleveland. The Browns are going to Brown, and something will happen. So that's all I know, man. That's all I know. What else we got, people? What else do we got? Browns fans get a taste of winning a few games and forget who they are. Yes! Yes! Say it again, Matt. Yes! And they get a few games. They win a few games, and the next thing you know, they're God's gift to football. I'm like, come on, man. You guys have been bad for 3 damn decades. Hey, what, you win a couple of games and all of a sudden, I mean, you're God's gift of football. Lord have mercy. You would think that you're the 1970 Steelers, which is what you really want to be. I mean, Lord, give me a break. And I know they're going to talk about the dynasty that, oh, we had a dynasty. I would be willing to bet that right now, what is there? 85 people that are currently in here. Not one of us were alive when the Browns were in that dynasty. Not one person in here right this very second was even freaking alive when the Browns were going through that damn dynasty. That's how long ago that was. Then get the hell out of here. Get out of here with that nonsense. We don't want to hear that from you. I don't want to hear any of that from you Browns fans. Jiminy Christmas. So, mm, mm, mm. All right, man. Well, we're going to cut this one off. We're going to knock this one off today, man. So I appreciate you guys being in here. Again, we got our podcast, Steelers Almighty Podcast, coming out tomorrow. Again, we're almost at 2,000 subscribers. So we've only been going since April 4th, people. April 4th of this year. Or we're almost at 2,000. That's because of you. Continue to help us put these things out. Continue to help support the channel any way that you like. Follow, like, subscribe. More importantly, comment. Love the back and forth. I appreciate you guys, man. No live tomorrow. The podcast comes out tomorrow, so we're not going to have a live tomorrow unless we do it in the morning, which, hey, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Some things might free up where we can do it in the morning. Maybe not. But either way, we'll find out. But if not, I will catch you guys on Thursday. Remember to go look at that video tomorrow, man. It'll come out tomorrow evening. Make sure you go check it out. That's Steelers Almighty. We appreciate you guys. Aloha.